Yo! Today we're going to be looking at a very exciting tournament final featuring none other than Peng, who is playing as green here. Bo is a United States national champion, if you're not familiar, one of the most famous Catan players of all time, and also a semi-final at the Catan official Worlds event. So very, very strong player, wins events all the time, but coming up against three other very competent players in a tournament final. Geo Piglet playing as Pink, who is also a tournament champion, not only in base, but also in Cities and Knights. Julia playing as Yellow, who is an American regional champion. Red, Shinuslaw, who has a different name on Two Sheep, but who is also an online champion and a very experienced player, and also went undefeated at a very competitive Berlin qualifier that I also played at. These players, very, very competent. Should be an interesting game. Everything's on the line. There's money on this. This is a tournament finals, and each of the players had 5 minutes to study this board before selecting their placement order based off how they performed in the qualifiers. Let's get into the game. Geo Piglet seeded first in the entire tournament, and as a result got to pick first, and we'll see that he chooses the best wheat in the game. 693, good wheat, good ore, no real complaints from me. 810-3 coming in from Bo here, which is a very balanced pick. Many good outs that would allow all 5 resources for a very balanced setup overall. So 810-3 solid, point to the 3-1 port, nothing too strange here. 5-9-10 from Julia, which is definitely interesting. There's a lot of really strong outs. 8-4-10 is cool. 6-4-11 is 6-3-4 is cool. There's so much to work with here. 5-9-10 is solid though, and given what she ends up playing as a full setup, this makes a lot of sense. Points to the brick port, and then red goes for an interesting setup, going all in on locking the 6 or the best ore in the game, and also the 11s, taking both 11s and locking the 6 with a potential road play. Julia then actually takes the wheatless setup, double wood, double brick, good ports, good space, and effectively clears the entire bottom of the board for herself. Bo takes 9-4-11, very good out for him. All 5 resources, very balanced wood, brick, sheep, wheat, ore. The ratio is very good, and solid expansion options. Nothing crazy, but good enough. And finally, Pig does actually take the 8-4, not left with much. 8-4 is a solid pick, great all wheat sheep. Decent to have the 3-1 port early too. So the game is placed out. The board is like this. Now the first moment I wanted to highlight here is Julia as Yellow pulling a victory point here, which as a road player is a very good omen. Those points in the end game can be difficult to come by when you can't build cities that easily. So this is a very good victory point actually for Yellow, though it may seem slow. And this transitions into the next turn. Red actually does make a trade with Bo, getting the road settled down onto 3-11, not only increasing the value of this 11 roll should it actually ever roll, but also getting onto the 3 wheat. Starting to fill out that game a little bit more for red. Very nice. Moving forward, we have a little bit more has happened here. We have a couple of cities on the board, but nothing too eventful otherwise. This is a very interesting moment where Bo, with the settle in hand, just have 11 cards. Not only has the 11 just rolled, which is massive for red, Bo also gets 2 wheat, very much needed. With the option to settle and buy another dev, he actually goes for a second city. Bo, living by the mantra of production is king, now has 2 doubled wheat rolls, the sheep rolls doubled, the wood, brick, the ore, everything is doubled. So the port is nice, but actually this looks like the port won't take long either, and great production upgrade for Bo. Really strong position to be in, and we'll see how this develops. Surprise, surprise, Bo produces a lot of cards, and just a couple of turns later he actually is in a position to get the settlement down, buy the road builder, and get another development card, which is a knight. So things are heating up here. In a tournament final, Bo is far and away leading the table right now. Julia is close to playing for road. She settled on wheat, which is a really nice upgrade to her setup. Does have the victory point, but still doesn't have the 3-1 port yet. Red Shin has actually only pulled knights, so still quite slow on that front. Without 11s, and especially with his 6 being blocked, not much is happening there. And then Pig does have the 6-9-3 city, but the 6s have not rolled that much, and that is absolutely the crux of this setup. Moving on, we actually have Bo playing out the road builder, firstly buying the dev, getting a knight, and building the road builder out onto the 5-2. Settles the 9-2 though, for a couple of reasons. Firstly, this is slightly more efficient, leaving open the road settle onto the 5-10 or the 5-2, and also tripling this 9 will come in handy later. I can tell you that. Ball's not in a bad spot here at all. Pig does have pacing on him for army, but it's a good position, threatening road, threatening army, building cities, lots of production on the 3-1 port. Bo is in a monstrous spot here, and Julia does what she can on her turn and gets a city for 8 points with an open settle for 9, with a road settle for 10, and it doesn't look like anyone's challenging road. That's very scary. Another interesting moment here as the game continues to advance. Shin actually has rolled an 11 recently, tries to offload some of these cards to Pig to get a city. Actually does port all of the sheep to buy a city on the 6-5-11 for 6 points. Quite interesting, though I do think in this spot buying development cards is simply better. There's a lot of real value to get out of this sheep, and it's especially rare just being off this 11. I think with army being somewhat unstable, with victory points being everywhere, monopolies everywhere, this could have been a great opportunity for Red to pull out a bit of a sneakier win, potentially. They go for the slightly slower city. Personally, I'm going for the devs there any day of the week. Moving forward, we do have a pretty critical moment in the game where Pig is on 7 points, but is in a pretty problematic position army-wise. He actually needs to buy a knight right now, or Bo has the potential to take army from him. And he buys a Devon. It's the Year of Plenty, not what he needed. Not in a position to ask for more from the table, nor does the table have much to give. He passes, and Bo smells blood in the water. And with this incredible hand here, instead of building 3 roads to take road and building a city for 9 points, instead of road, settle, and then building another road and a city to challenge for road and get to 8 points and almost 9, almost 10. Bo actually buys 1 development card, gets a victory point. Very interesting. Already here, he is actually 1 card off the win. If he had an ore in hand, he would just take road and build a city, and that's the game. So already extremely close. Interestingly, he actually buys a development card here and goes for the kill with army and gets a Year of Plenty. Good, but not quite what you need. Ports the brick, gets a 3rd dev, and that's a knight. Bo's correctly assessed that Pig not unblocking his 6 wheat here, his only good roll compared to anyone else in the game. Pig doesn't have a knight, and Bo is in a position to take advantage of that, and he does do it. So here's the victory point. That is 7 points. Here's the Year of Plenty, very versatile, and the knight, which should guarantee the army play. Interestingly, the order that he ported the wood and the brick may have actually had a game-winning or game-losing outcome, or impact, should I say, because he ports the wood first. If he had ported the brick first and pulled a victory point, then the 10 would have been a winning roll instantly on the next turn. Obviously, the 4 wood is only a 2 wood roll. The 10 produces 3 brick. That's an interesting thing that I caught. I don't know if that was a conscious decision or if Bo was planning to buy 2 development cards anyway, but always interesting to think about the little details like that when it can matter. Buys the development cards. Quite a nice spot for Bo here. Is it even possible for someone to come back? I mean, Julia needs settle to win the game. Red is in a bit of a limbo position here. Pig does have the Year of Plenty and the victory point, but it looks like he's going to lose army. Now, Julia, unable to get the settle down, just extends a road. It's extremely close here. I mean, she's obviously feeling how imminent a potential win is, but doesn't just apply to her. We have Red, who rolls onto his turn and hits the amazing 11 roll. This hand is stacked, not quite perfect for buying devs, but gets 1, gets a victory point, that's 7, settles for 8 points, and now just 3 rolls away from winning the game, 2 cities. Pretty tight here in this final. Now, the last act of this game, we have Pig rolling his turn. He's seeing so much ore being produced here, and the last Hail Mary effort to somehow save army ends up trading a road for 2 ore to Red, giving them potentially the road steal on their own turn, but allowing the Year of Plenty for 2 development cards, getting 1, 2 knights, which you would need to defend army, except for the fact that Bo already has a knight, takes army, blocks the 6, and hits the perfect winning roll, the 9. The 10 would have also won as a result of being the road steal, but the 9 is the city, and he hits the city, and that's 10 points. And that is the game with the Year of Plenty in hand. Bo wins the final, takes the cash home, and is officially then won the most competitive online tournament format that has existed to date. In style, may I say. Not a single Monopoly was pulled or played this game, which is really interesting for such a high stakes environment. Normally you'd think that the Monopoly has massive impact on the outcome. We didn't have a Monopoly, and this came down to the finer details. As you can see here, Bo and Pig actually pulled very similar development cards, almost identical, but it was just a matter of the timing. If you'd like to see your game highlighted in this way, discussed on the channel, all you have to do is leave that replay link down in the comments, message it to me on Discord, or post it in the dedicated replay review channel in the 2Sheep.io Discord. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.